Hello, welcome to All About Stocks. My name's Alan, and let's get started here. So, I'm going to talk about a little bit about our economy here. I'm just trying to get everything situated here. All right. So, the European market just opened up, and everything's pretty much dropping. And I'm watching it drop pretty good here. So, I have it right behind me here. The FTSE's down 54 points, and that's pretty much what I drop or watch. So, all right. So, what I've noticed or what I've been watching on the news here is our economy is pretty much being held up or propped up by the Fed. Um, the Fed's been tapering, and that's pretty much what's been holding up the economy. Now, if y'all notice, the SPY and the Dow, they dropped pretty good today, and then the QQQ that dropped, but Triple Q made a nice comeback. I believe it uh, came back by what was it, 2 points, and well, I think, and once again, it's just my personal opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some random guy posting my opinions on stock markets. So just take that for a grain of salt. I'm having fun. I'm hoping y'all like it. So please, if you do end up watching it, click the like button, subscribe, and please comment. Comment what you're thinking. If you see something you like, let me know. And if you see something you don't like, please let me know. That way I can fix what you're not liking. And, I need to know what you're not liking. But for the next few days, I'm thinking that everything's going to be just a downwind, just basically red for the next few days. From Wednesday to Friday, I'm thinking that the market's just going to be red. So something interesting I saw on TD Ameritrade. I'm going to pull it up, and I saw it commented on Webull also. So it's not just me that saw it, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you. And yeah, it's not going to be able to pull up. And I'm sorry, I have not figured out how to pull up charts while on live. I'm trying to figure that one out. But on Webull, someone was able to snapshot it before it changed, but they showed where after hours QQQ went down to 349, and on TD Ameritrade after hours it still shows that from 381 that it dropped down to 349 after hours. And I'm thinking that when the market opens, that either it's going to open at 349 or that it's going to drop down towards that 349 mark. So that's just my thoughts. It's, I think that, SPY, triple Qs, the down, I think all that's going to be just dropping all the way down. So I think we're going to be testing the 200-day moving average for the next few days. That's just me. So I think everyone needs to get ready for that. I do not think that's a buy the dip type thing until you hit that 350 area for the Qs. So get ready. Now, something something that I've been thinking about coming up. We have the yeah. I get itchy. I'm in the garage, so I'm getting ready to move, so I've been packing everything up, and I've been doing all my YouTube videos in the garage. It's the only way I can really do this until I get moved into my new house. So it's the best I can do. So sorry about that. I get all itchy. It's hot. But so we're coming up on the uh, the voting season. The Senate or the House, they're all they're going to be doing yeah. We're going to have to go listen to, you need to vote for this person or this person did that, all that great stuff. So that's going to be great to listen to, but at the same time, Congress, whoa, never fun to listen to them. But so my thoughts on Congress and all of them, I I don't, I'm not going to tell y'all my if I'm a Democrat or a Republican. I don't want that clouding judgment as far as my YouTube videos. However, let me just emphasize this: when you go to vote, I would like y'all to think about this. Did whoever you're voting for, if they're in office or if they've been in office, did they keep their did they keep their word, or did they at least try to keep their word last time they were in office? And a lot of candidates, they do not. Even once they get in office, they just run amok, they do whatever, and a lot of people don't pay attention once their candidate gets in office. So um, that's that's a big thing. And last year, I believe it was last year, year before, when Trump was in office, the Congress went on strike, and a lot of people were not getting paid, but Congress was. I believe a lot of the people in the post office, they had to go. I think it's 2 3 weeks without getting paid, and that hurts a lot of people. So it's a government shutdown, and you know Congress doesn't care. They're getting paid. Now Trump's in there. A lot of people don't like Trump. I once again not telling y'all how I feel about him. I don't want to be asked. I will not say anything about it. Now Congress, they just kept on delaying that stimulus as long as they could, while a lot of people were hurting, needing that stimulus. I personally believe they were just waiting as long as they could, hoping that they could wait until Biden got into office, and they didn't want Trump to receive recognition for it. Now, whether that be true, hey, once again, I don't know. I'm going by what the news said. That's Fox, and then CNBC. As soon as Biden got in office, they they fully supported and said, "Hey, look what Biden did." Hey, great for Biden. If that's the case, great for Biden. Now, I do want to state that you know I do feel like there's a lot of cases that a lot of these politicians, there could be a case made that there's a lot of fraudulent statements made. There's a lot of fraud made, and I believe there's a lot of bribery made. They do call it something else. I believe I was looking it up, and they call it lobbying. Some people are aware of it. I I didn't know until I looked it up. It's legal. Lobbying for a politician is legal. Basically, it's bribery, and you just get a group of candidates who all believe the same way, and they just work to the same goal, and they pass the same bill basically. But they're so we'll use Biden for example. If Biden wanted um, more oil, I'm not saying this is true. It is not 100% not true. I'm just using Biden for example. If Biden wanted all oil cars, he wanted cars to run 100% on oil. I'm trying to make this as crazy as possible. If Biden wanted cars to run 100% on oil and only oil, so he would get Exxon and just a bunch of companies like Exxon, and Exxon would then pay Biden, and they would pay all the people involved, and then and this is my understanding of it. So I might be off a little bit on this, but they would pay all the people under them, and then they would come out and create a law for all these vehicles to run only on oil, no gasoline, nothing like that. And then they come through to Congress and say, "This is what we got. Pass this law," and Congress would go, "Okay." They pass the law, and then we'd have cars that ran specifically off oil. Now, I'm trying to go extreme so that everyone knows I'm just trying to make it up. Now, in no shape or form is this actually a law, or is Biden trying to pass this. Now, that would be a case of lobbying. It's still bribery. It's a form of bribery, but in the United States, that's legal. In no other country is this legal that I have been able to find. So that's, in my eyes, it's crazy, and I believe a lot of people find this crazy, and you know, the UK, they find it crazy. So it's a little questionable. So you know, we should really be looking at this. Our as the baby boomers are moving off, they're retiring, they're handing the reins down to the millennials, our generation. They're going to be trying to teach us how to do all this, and the millennials need to realize, hey, this is not how things should be. If we want to improve our nation, we need to stop this fraud, this lobbying, this bribery. And for us to do that, we need to pass very strict, hard laws on it. We could make this a form of treason. That way, it would stop. If any politicians involved in it, it's a form of treason. And if any person's involved in it, involving a politician, that can be looked at as a form of treason. I don't see it actually happening, but if you had a group of good politicians get together and enact a bill like that, it would greatly improve our nation in ways that most people couldn't even dream of. Instead of you having a stack of 1,000 bills that we just go through and go, hey, do we want to enact these bills? Yeah. And most candidates or most politicians haven't even read half of them. Then the politicians could look at one bill, read it, and go, hey, is this a good bill? Yes, that's a good bill. Let's enact it. Is this a good bill? No, that's not a good bill. Let's not enact it. So instead, we could take our time, go through bill by bill, and get through the good ones and get through the bad ones and enact what needed to be enacted, instead of let's add on these really bad ones because they won't pass without the good ones. And that's kind of what lobbying does. They throw on these really bad ones to get on they throw on the bad ones onto the good ones so that they can enact those bad ones. That's why you had problems with you had problems getting your stimulus like last year. Now I understand that people keep on going, well, why are we having so much trouble getting our stimulus last year? Well, that's why. Now, giving y'all more in depth or more of a history lesson. Now, go back to the Roman Empire. Excuse me. Go back to the Roman Empire. The Romans had probably the longest stretch in the history. Probably had one of the largest empires in the history of the world. They lasted probably the longest in the history of the world. They probably had the largest nation in as far as the people. If you look at the percentages for the people as far as like the people on the world at the time. And the Roman Empire fell due to the corruption of their Senate. The Senate kept on taking money out of the people, or kept on taking money out of their uh, government and kept on putting it into their own pocket, building more and more lavish lifestyles for themselves. Now, our Congress is doing the same. I know we don't see it, but they're doing it. You don't have a Congress that makes $250,000 have a bank account, $500 million, or some of them have just just about every single one of them have millions of dollars, and they're getting paid. What is it, $250,000 a year? But yet they have millions of dollars. Now, I can understand if they had, a couple $1 million smart investments and such, but they know when to invest, where to invest, and then on top of it, they're they're getting lobbyists to pay them to enact certain bills. And you can't tell me this is for the good of the nation. This is complete fraud, or not fraud, but just this is the worst thing you can do to a nation. And for me to say this should be considered treason, and why not? Why not treat it as what it is? And for them to go, hey, you're never going to get a politician to treat it or call it what it is, and we would have to get the Supreme Court to come in and say, hey, this is actually treason. So either we're our new the millennials who are coming to take over, they're going to have to do it. The Supreme Court would have to do it, or it's never going to be done, which will be the downfall of our nation. Now, something I do want to kind of touch over is the national debt. Everyone is concerned over the national debt. It is the highest it's ever been, or is at the all-time high, but it's always at the all-time high. It's always going up. Now, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't always continuously go up. And Congress says, don't worry. Jerome Powell says, don't worry. With inflation, it's going to be easier to pay it off later. But the truth is, it yes, it's going to be easier to pay it off later than now, because someone else has to pay it off later than we will now. It's going to be not the baby boomers who have to pay it off. it's the millennials and our kids and our grandkids who have to pay it off. But the best thing is if we enacted something where the candidates, when they run for office, instead of them, the money they use, if they don't use all the money, instead of them giving the rest of the remaining funds to their party, then they have to use the remaining funds and put it towards the national debt. That would help reduce that national debt. Even if it was $1, that's $1 off the national debt. I know it sounds stupid, but think about how many candidates you have. Excuse me. Europe 600, the stocks Europe 600 down 467 right now. 30 minutes in, or an hour in to European Open. I just wanted to say that real quick. Extra, or the DAX down 209. All European markets are down at least 1%. All right, so back to it. So we are, wow, industrials are down 10%. Sorry, um, told y'all. Thought we were going to be having a rough day today. Um, anyway, so think about how many candidates we have, and they get money from their party. And if they don't have enough, so let's say you have a Democrat and a Republican. Let's say that Democrat is running for um, mayor, and let's say that Democrat gets a ton of money come in, but the Republican only gets, let's say a Democrat gets 500,000, the Republican only gets 100,000. Well, the party goes, hey, we'll make up the difference. We want you to win. They'll throw them 400,000 extra from the party. Well, is that fair? Because the people in that city really wanted that Democrat to win, but the party came through and helped them out. And that way, that Republicans saying, hey, we're wanting this person to win. Well, let's say it's a third party. Well, that third party raised, $1 million, and the Democrat and the Republican only raised 500,000. Well, now the parties come up and say, "Hey, we'll put you up to 1 million. That way, y'all can win or have a better fighting chance." Now, this is keeping third parties out. Now, this is not fair for third parties either. Now, I know it's not, not that unlike, or what's the word I'm looking for, but in other countries that are, uh, just in other countries, they have more than just two parties. That way, you're not looking at, hey, we have one idiot and another idiot, which is the best of the two idiots. In other countries, you have multiple candidates and you're not choosing between two idiots. And, you know, several years you're looking and you're going, hey, I don't like either of these candidates. And I just won't vote this year. Well, if you don't vote, you don't have the right to say anything. You're just stuck sitting there going, hey, whatever happens, happens. But if at least if you vote, then you can complain and you can go, hey, I voted for this idiot and this idiot won. I don't like this idiot's choices, so I get to say I voted for idiot number two and idiot number one. I don't like anything he did, But hey, if we had, three, four, five, six idiots, then you get to at least have a say. And, if there's at least one smart guy out of five other idiots, hopefully the smart guy would win. And the more people who are running with all that, it raises, uh, pardon me, it raises more political funding, and then all that political funding would fall back, and then you could put it all towards the national debt. It wouldn't go to the parties. Either way, right now, just between the Democrats and the Republicans, the more money that goes to just the Democrats or the Republicans, if it goes to one candidate or the other, that money should be going to the national debt. It should not be going towards the parties. It, that way, whoever that area, that the city, the state, the country, you got your, the president, the mayor, the governor, whoever, whoever the people want to win, that you're voting basically with your dollars. That's how it's working out right now. And that way, whatever's left over helps pay off the national debt. Instead, if the candidate, if the party's candidate doesn't win, then the party is throwing all the remaining funds into the Congress. And when they're done with the Congress, then they're falling back and putting the remaining funds into the mayors and so forth and so forth. This is not right. It's not fair for other candidates. It's not fair for third parties. It's not fair for anyone. This goes back to the bribery, the lobbying, fraud. It's wrong for everything. So I go back to, baby boomers. They're back on their way. They're on their way out. They didn't believe that much in financial education. That's why many of y'all did not get a good financial education. If you did, then you would be one of the people who started investing in at 18. I didn't invest in at 18. My uncle, he tried to get me to invest at 18. But he's one of the very few people who tried to get me to invest at 18. The rest of my family, they had no clue. Now, sorry, I'm looking at my notes here just to keep up here. Now, the rest of the generation, the baby boomers, the reason that they had no financial education is because their companies that they worked for, they were taken care of from their companies. They had pensions, matching 401ks. Now, some companies, they still have matching 401ks, but very few. And you'll never find a company that has a pension plan anymore. They got rid of those. Now, the baby boomers, they grew up, they got old, and now they became the bosses. Now they have, now that they're the boss, now they're getting the salary, the stock options, the bonuses, and they're becoming the penny pinchers. They want to save all the money they can. That way, they're getting the best bonus possible, which means that if you're younger than me or you're just the low man on the totem pole, that means you're not getting the best possible dollar you can, or you're probably not staying at your company longer than 2 years. Because for you to move up or get more money, you have to change jobs as much as possible. And my family, they always tell me, for you to move up, you have to stay at your company, and for you to make more money, stay at your company and you'll get those raises. Well, that's not true. For you to move up and for you to get raises, you have to change jobs as much as possible, not as much as possible. Get your experience, change jobs, and once experience means change jobs, get the raise, and every time you get more experience, someone's going to pay you more. And if you don't follow me, I'm saying find a job, learn what you can from that job, and when you learn what you can, find someone who's going to pay you more from the experience that they've taught you. Now, I know this is going to sound scary, and for a lot of people, it's going to be, but the boomers, they're going to create a a recession or a market crash, and it's going to be a long term one. And this is going to be the roaring 20s for us. Maybe it might be a long one, but don't count on it. Uh, the baby boomers, they're all pretty old. My dad, he's kind of young. However, he's 70, and he was at the end of the baby boomer era. So 70 isn't exactly a spring chicken. And now you're looking at for 70 and yeah, I understand this is kind of middle age for baby boomer. I know baby boomers can go all the way from like 45 to 80, but a 45-year-old baby boomer does not have the money to create a recession. Most of the baby boomers have are at the 60 to 80-year area to that have the majority of the money. Now, they're when they pass away or they go into retirement, they're going to be pulling all that money out of the stock market. And it happens either way. If they pass away, that money has to come out of the stock market. If they retire, they have the choice. Do they pull the money out or do they rearrange it? What do they do with it? Do they go buy a house? Do they move to a different country? What do they do? So that's happening, and we're knocking at the door. Now, there, I understand. I just said, hey, it's coming, it's here, but we're also in that area of possible roaring 20s. Now, there's a lot of exciting areas that this is creating with a lot of fun possibilities where now you're looking at, hey, with the older generation be looking at healthcare. Now we're also in a new industrial revolution or a new revolution. I don't know if I'd call it industrial, but robots seem to be taking over everything. I don't want to say like robot, like you're thinking AI intelligence, but think about McDonald's and the fry flipper or McDonald's and the burger flipper. Just think about what robots can actually do and think about where that's going and think about where you can invest to get that money and think about where that can go and think about ETFs. There's a new ETF called BOTZ. That's doing phenomenal. I definitely am invested in it. So I'm not going to say I recommend it. I'm not going to say anything more than I am invested in it. I would say take a look at it. I will be doing an analysis on it later on. So, what can you do about this? That's a big question, right? Well, Like I said, look in healthcare, look in where the market's going to be going later on down the road. Now, if the market's going to crash, do you think it's going to crash? Once again, I'm not a financial advisor. I can't tell you where to put your money. I'm just some guy on the internet. But what would I do? What am I doing? Now, I'm going to be investing in ETFs, mutual funds, things that, well, if the bubble pops, let's say, well, it's not going to crash or disrupt all my stocks, but or it won't disrupt all my stocks. I won't lose all my money in per se just this stock or all my stocks. And at the same time, I'm going to be starting to look at real estate. Can I afford another house? Can I rent out a house? Can I do a rent to own program? I know there are certain people who can't afford to buy a house, but they'd like to have a house. If I do a rent to own program, maybe I can rent it out for a little bit more while helping someone else buy a house. And if you're under 35, let's say you are one of those individuals who are 18 and trying to uh, get an early jump in investing. Well, that's fantastic. This might be the opportunity of a lifetime. This might be exactly what you want. Uh, you could buy stocks, buy dividend stocks. That's probably exactly what I'd be looking at is buying dividend stocks, diversify, diversify heavily. ETFs would be great. Now, if you can't afford to do a house at 18 years old, because I don't think I could, I don't think many people could, diversify as much as you can while maybe trying to look for a secondary job. That way you can start building your wealth as well as trying to build a company. So look at what you can do and look at what else you can do to build a secondary form of cash flow. Now remember that cash gets eaten up. So do whatever you can while remembering that cash is uh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Cash is a way that it gets eaten up by inflation. So even if you have it in a savings account, at least you're making money off it. However, inflation's still going to be taking away more than you'll be making. So try to make it at least more than 2% on your money. So please like, subscribe, and if you are new to investing and you are interested, there are a link for Robinhood and Webull, and that's a good way to get your first 3 free stocks. Both at Robinhood has free stocks. Webull has 3 free stocks, and I hope you enjoyed. Please comment. Let me know what you did like. Please let me know what you did not like. And I hope you enjoyed and you have a great day. Thank you for listening.